So if you are sitting there listening to me and thinking, I just don't believe in marketing, the first step we have to take is to really examine that belief. You need to ask yourself, is that really true that you don't believe in marketing? Or is a part of that belief really about the fact that marketing feels risky to you? Because if you put yourself out there, if you market yourself, someone might see you and not choose you.
Welcome to Leaving Academia, Becoming a Freelance Editor, the podcast. I'm your host, Paulina Cossette. In 2019, I was a political science professor who was fed up with the stress and hostility of academia, not to mention the low pay. I left my tenure-track job and went from barely surviving to thriving as a freelance academic editor. Today, I own Acadia Editing Services, an editing and coaching business that brings in 6 figures a year. In this podcast, I'll discuss the challenges of academia, what academic editing involves, and what life as a freelancer looks like. If you're willing to jump outside your comfort zone, it is possible to find joy, true flexibility, and a profitable and rewarding career as an academic editor. Thanks for listening.
Welcome to Leaving Academia, Becoming a Freelance Editor. I'm your host, Paulina Cossette. Picture this. You're on a used car lot. It's hot outside. You made the mistake of making eye contact with a salesperson. And now he's walking toward you with his big smile, and you can already feel it, that low-key dread, because you know what's coming. The pitch, the pressure to buy, the subtle implication that if you don't drive off in that big ass Chevy Silverado today, you're making a huge mistake. That feeling, that's what a lot of academics think of when they hear the word marketing. And, I get it, right? I do. But here's what I want to talk about today, because I think there's a massive misunderstanding happening. And that misunderstanding is keeping a lot of really talented people, maybe even people like you, from building the business that you are more than capable of having. Marketing your academic business does not require the stereotypical used car salesman approach. In fact, if you're doing it right, it should look nothing like that. And once you see what marketing really involves, it might actually become one of your favorite parts of running your business. I know that might sound like a stretch right now, but just stay with me and I'll show you that marketing really is nothing like what you expect. First, let's look at where the resistance to marketing comes from. We need to start by naming the thing directly, because I think there are really two separate layers of resistance going on here, and they often get tangled up together. The first layer of your resistance to marketing is values-based. As academics, we are trained to be skeptical of anything that smells like selling. There's a whole cultural narrative that is baked into academic life that goes something like this. Business is about profit. Marketing is about manipulation. And anyone who's too enthusiastic about either one of those things probably shouldn't be trusted. We also tend to have very anti-capitalist tendencies, which I think feed into these very anti-business, anti-marketing feelings and beliefs. And you've probably absorbed these ideas without even realizing it. I know I certainly did. Now, that skepticism isn't entirely unfounded. There truly is a lot of gross marketing out there. The ads that we see plastered all over the internet telling you that if you just eat more protein and drink more water and take this or that supplement and buy this ridiculous piece of exercise equipment that you don't need and will never use, if you just do that, you'll have your dream body by summer, right? That's something that understandably creates a knee-jerk negative reaction, and we're so used to seeing those kinds of ads and that kind of marketing everywhere, probably even going back to our childhood. If you think about the infomercials and QVC and Suzanne Summers and the Thigh Master is the one that comes to mind for me, of all this junk that companies are just trying to sell us and to pressure us to buy. So it's no wonder, having been exposed to those kinds of things for most of our lives, that we feel that marketing is gross and that we don't want to do it. There are also the ads, some of which I've seen very recently, that claim you can earn $250,000 in your first year of business if you just buy this $47 mini course. That is a real ad by a big time online marketer and course creator who is running those ads on Instagram. And when I first saw it, I wanted to throw up, to be perfectly honest. I could not believe that she was, with all her success, this is somebody who has made multiple millions of dollars, and she's trying to rope people in, people who are vulnerable, who are just starting out, who are just trying to think about starting a business, and telling them that they can spend $47 on a mini course or whatever it was that she was selling and make $250,000 in your first year. That is just, I mean, I'm not going to say nobody's ever done that. Probably there is someone out there who's done it, but that is very, very rare and not an expectation that we should be setting for people who are putting their hopes and dreams into their future and starting a business. That's just a completely unrealistic expectation. So anyway, those are just a couple examples to show you I understand why you feel this way. I understand why you think that marketing is gross. I also think that our resistance as academics to marketing stems from something sneakier, something layered in deeper in our minds. And this one took me a while to see in myself. And I think that a lot of the resistance to marketing isn't really about our values, it's about our self-doubt. Now, I held off marketing myself to private clients for about 2 years when I started copy editing. I also had my daughter during this time, so there was a lot else going on. But that was a long time to essentially put my business growth on hold. And, I was getting faster at editing. I was working as a freelancer, as an independent contractor for agencies and publishers. And I was getting faster at editing. So I was earning more money per hour, essentially, because you get paid by the word for each project. So essentially, you get a project rate. And as you get faster, that means your effective hourly rate is higher. But I also knew that continuing to be a freelancer and a contractor and getting paid dirt for my work was not the way that I wanted to run my business for the rest of my life. And still, when I look back on that time in growing my business, and this was around 2021 into the early 2022, I knew I had the skills. I knew I was a good editor. I was getting excellent feedback from the clients that found me through these editing agency sites and the authors whose books I was editing for the press. Even though I had that excellent feedback, I still was riddled with self-doubt. I was still terrified that if I tried to go out on my own and attract private clients, that no one would hire me. And I was convinced that my only option then was to just stay with these agencies, to try to find agencies that paid better. And if you've ever done that, if you've been in this business at all, you know what a joke that is, because they don't pay well at all. But it also was the safe option. It meant that I didn't have to put myself out there. I didn't have to do the hard work of learning how to market myself. I didn't have to face possible rejection from clients. And, deep down, I really think I believed that I wasn't good enough at that I wouldn't be good enough at marketing myself to be able to attract clients. That wasn't who I was, and I didn't have the skills, and I wouldn't know how to figure it out. And so in doing so, what was really fear for me, I dressed it up as principles, right? That I just would keep being a contractor, that, marketing is gross. It's going to require me to dance on TikTok and do all these things that I don't want to do. And even though I said I didn't want to do marketing, that I didn't want to learn marketing, really it was about fear. And I suspect that that's the case for many of you out there. And the result, of course, as I said, is that it cost me 2 years of building a better business, of building a high paying, joyful business that lets me work just 25 hours a week. But I got there. I figured it out, right? So if niching down is something that interests you, and again, that is the key to marketing yourself successfully, you can go to episode 72 of my podcast and get more information about how to do that. But anyway, in this point, the point of this episode is I want you to get over those fears. I want you to get over this belief that marketing is gross. And so we're going to turn to that now. So if you are sitting there listening to me and thinking, I just don't believe in marketing, the first step we have to take is to really examine that belief. You need to ask yourself, is that really true that you don't believe in marketing? Or is a part of that belief really about the fact that marketing feels risky to you? Because if you put yourself out there, if you market yourself, someone might see you and not choose you. Remember, though, that both of these things can be true at the same time. You can have real values that you want to preserve when you market yourself, and you can also be scared to do that. But it's important to recognize that fear, because we can prioritize our values. We can stick to our values and only do the type of marketing that is important to us. And we can recognize the fear and push through that in a way that helps us have the business that we've always wanted. So if marketing is not about selling you useless weight loss equipment or supplements, or it's not about touring around the used car lot and trying to pressure people to buy, what is it? This is where we have to start to reframe our beliefs and make sure that our ideas are grounded in truth and in data. So let's strip away all the noise, the ads, the influencer culture, the pressure to buy now, all of that. And let's get down to the bare bones of what marketing actually is. Ready? Marketing is letting people know you exist. That's it. That's the whole thing. Marketing is letting people know you exist. Now, when we dig a little bit deeper, we find that there are two components to this. In order to do marketing, you have to do two things. You have to reach out to people you already know, and you have to get to know people who don't know you yet. That is marketing, right? It is connecting with people we already know and letting them know we exist. And it's getting to know people we don't know yet. And when we think about marketing in this way, I want you to notice something. You already know how to do these things. You have been doing these things for your entire academic career. You've gone to conferences and struck up conversations with strangers over bad hotel coffee. You have cold emailed scholars whose work you admired just to say, hey, I read your paper and I found it really interesting. You have mentioned your research to people at dinner parties, or you talked with a friend about what you're studying or your struggles with your research or your analysis or whatever. You've posted something on academic Twitter, or now I guess it's Blue Sky, Threads? Where are we? I don't know. But you did all of these things because you wanted to be part of the conversation. You wanted to let people know that you exist and that your ideas and research are worth talking about. That's marketing, right? Yeah. You know I'm right. You know I'm right. The version of marketing that you will do for your editing or coaching business just sounds like this. Hey, friend, whoever, colleague, so and so, whatever. I've started taking on private editing clients. If you're working on a dissertation, a manuscript, or a grant proposal, or if you know someone who is, I'd love to connect. That's it. If you're doing coaching, you just reframe it for whatever type of coaching you do, whatever problems you help people solve. You just reach out and you ask to connect. You can do this over email, you can do this on LinkedIn, it doesn't matter. You're not pushing anyone into anything. You're not manufacturing urgency or hiding the price of your services or suckering people into a hard sell. You're doing what humans have always done, which is tell the people around us what we're up to. Because I think, and this is an important point here that I see a lot, is that we often assume that everybody around us, our family, our kids, friends, parents, our whoever, all these people in our network, whether it's academic, professional, or a personal life, we assume that everybody keeps up with our life as much as we do. And that's wrong. We are all humans are naturally self-centered, right? And not in a weird gross way of being egotistical or anything like that. We are absorbed in our own life. And we think that because we make a change and decide to take on editing or coaching clients and we post about it a couple of times that everybody around us knows that we're doing that. And they don't because they're absorbed in their own lives. And here's the part that I really want you to hear. When it comes to marketing, you are in control of how you do it. There are no marketing rules. There is no secret marketing strategy, even though so many people promise you that. There's no exact steps that you have to follow to be successful. No one is going to show up and tell you that you have to run Facebook ads or post on TikTok or do anything that feels weird to you. Let me clarify that. It might feel weird, but it shouldn't feel wrong, right? Reaching out to people via email or on LinkedIn or something might feel weird at first. It might feel uncomfortable, but that's only because you haven't done it before. But no one is going to come around and force you to do something that feels wrong to you or feels in violation of your values to you. There are countless options on the internet today and in person, by the way, if you live near universities or wherever your potential clients are, if you have access to them locally, you can market yourself in different ways in person. No one's going to force you to do any one of those options. And you have a whole buffet of choices to make, and you get to decide. You get to decide what you do, what platforms you use, what you talk about. You get to decide the message. You get to decide the tone. You get to decide how often you post and what you say. And so this is where marketing that aligns with your values doesn't just feel tolerable. It doesn't feel like something you have to do to make your business a success. It can actually feel good. It can feel like connecting with people, which is really, truly what it should be. Now, I hear you. You're thinking to yourself, but Paulina, what if no one wants to hire me? And I want to come back to the self-doubt piece here, because I know that even with all of this that I've been saying, there's still a voice for a lot of people that says, okay, but what if I tell people I exist and they just don't care? This feeling is so common. And I think it's especially common for people coming out of academia, or maybe you're still in academia, because academia as an institution, as a system, has spent years training us to be evaluated by an incredibly narrow set of gatekeepers: journals, peer reviewers, committees, advisors, funding agencies, your provost, your department chair. The list goes on and on. You have had to fight for every bit of validation that you get. And a lot of the time, you didn't even get it. You certainly don't get much appreciation. And that's not because you're not good enough at your job. You're amazing at your job. It's because the system is brutal and the competition is absurd. So, of course, you're bracing yourself for rejection when you think about going out to market your business. Of course, you're assuming that the default answer for everybody you get in touch with is going to be no. But here's the thing, and this is where the data becomes very important. This is where the data comes in. And I admittedly am privy to a lot of data because there's over 100 people who have joined my program in the last year and a half, almost 2 years now. And I see every cohort, the same thing happens. People come into the course, they enroll, they're terrified, they're nervous, they feel, oh, marketing's gross, I don't want to do it. And then I show them how to do it and I get them to do it. And you get to take those first steps and do that first outreach inside the safety of our 12-week coaching cohort in BAE. And by week 3, week 4, some people are already landing clients, paying clients. Others are doing this outreach exactly as I described earlier here, emailing people you know, letting them know what you do. And they're doing that outreach and they're getting positive reactions. They're saying, oh my gosh, I'm going to write my book this summer. Thank you for contacting me. I'm going to be in touch in a couple months when I know what my research funds look like or whatever, right? People in my program do this outreach, they do this marketing, and they get positive replies. And some of those positive replies even turn in right away to paying clients. And we tend to think that, there aren't enough scholars out there to hire all of us editors or all of us coaches. And that's absolutely not true. And again, I am privy to this data because I see it all the time. There are graduate students who need help with their dissertation or with publishing or with being on the job market. There are researchers. There are non-native English speakers. There are academics who are pivoting into new fields or new careers. There are people who need help with job applications or with tenure and promotion dossiers. There are people who are moving from academia into industry. There are people who are recently diagnosed with ADHD and need help figuring out how to navigate their academic job more effectively so that they don't have to be so miserable and burnt out anymore. There are all kinds of people who need all kinds of help and they are willing to pay for it. So I promise you, the need is there. If you know how to help somebody solve their problems, the need is there. And you have spent years becoming an expert at solving a problem that other people still genuinely need help with. So you've been down that road, you've solved the problem, you've figured out the answers and the strategy to help. There are people who are coming along behind you who have not figured it out yet, and they want to pay for your help and your solutions because it's going to make their life easier. But the only way to find out if people will hire you is to let them know that you're available, that you exist. And again, I know it feels vulnerable because it is vulnerable. But the alternative to putting yourself out there, if you just stay quiet, if you stay safe, and you stay wondering, what would happen if I tried this? That in itself has a cost. It means that you never move forward. It means that you never get to taste how sweet this life can be outside of academia. This life where you are in control and you get to decide when you work and how long you work each day and from where you work and with whom you work. If you happen to have somebody get in touch with you who wants to work with you and they're rude, you can say, rude, bye. And that's fine. It's your business. You get to decide. And if you let that fear and that concern about being vulnerable, if you let that hold you back, you're never going to experience this new life. So, how can we make marketing fun? Now, how much you enjoy it is going to vary by person, obviously. But I have heard from a lot of people, and I've experienced this myself, that having a business and learning to market your business in the form of writing blogs, writing posts on LinkedIn, creating images and graphics in Canva or whatever you're using, photos of yourself, other graphics that you create to go along with your posts, designing your website and all of that, that people really enjoy that because it lets you tap into your creativity and your artistic side. And so much of that is ignored. We have to ignore it in academia because we don't have time for creativity. We don't have time for art. We don't have time to enjoy ourselves and to just play with the professional things that we enjoy doing. And when you have a business, you have the time to play, to see what you want your logo to look like, to think about how you might speak to your ideal clients, to consider how you might convey or communicate a difficult concept to your clients or to potential clients in a post. To develop a course where you share your knowledge and your skills with people, where you get to coach them, where you get to be an instructor inside your own group program. There is so much freedom and so much room in having a business that lets you stretch your wings, that lets you be creative again and do all the things that are fun and that you love to do without being held back by your institution or by the academic system. And that is what I find enjoyable about marketing is the reaching out with people, the connecting with people, the having conversations with people, hearing their stories, being a non-judgmental, supportive ear, and some cases a shoulder to cry on via Zoom. And that connection that we engage in through marketing, this is the most effective type of marketing because connection is a fundamentally human thing. It is a fundamentally human thing that we do. And academics, despite that stereotype of the solitary scholar sitting alone in our office drinking stale coffee, academics are deeply curious people. And we love talking to other people about our ideas and our work and our problems and our struggles and our creativity. And marketing, when you're doing it right, when it's at its best, is just more of that. It is connecting with people. It is sharing ideas. It is sharing support, offering support. Some of the best marketing that I've ever done didn't feel like marketing at all. It was a genuine reply to something someone posted online. Maybe they expressed a struggle with their writing or with trying to finish their dissertation. And I replied with a supportive comment. And that led to a connection, to a message, to an email, and to a paid project. Sometimes that marketing and that human connection looks like an email that I send to an old colleague to check in, somebody I went to grad school with that I hadn't talked to in a while. Sometimes that marketing looks like me presenting on a roundtable. I've been invited to talk about the process of leaving academia. There are many roundtables that are held in conferences at universities and grad programs about how to write your dissertation, how to publish, how to get a job. You could be invited to speak at an event like that, whether it's virtual or in person. That is marketing. And these exchanges, these human connections that we make, often turn into paid client relationships. And in this age of AI, that we now live in, where everything on the internet feels fake and you see something and you don't know if it's real or not, you can build an entire business. You should build your business on warm human connection. The first thing that people do when they hear about you is they want to go check that you're real. They want to see your website. They want to see you speaking on videos on YouTube. They want to know who you are and what you stand for and what your personality is like and whether or not you have a good sense of humor. And so you don't need videos to go viral. Everybody and their brother nowadays has videos that go viral, and it's meaningless. It's just empty, shallow substance. There's no substance there. What you need is for people to know that you exist, for people to know what you do, and for people to trust that you're good at what you do. And this trust that is so necessary to establishing an editing or coaching relationship, that is built through exactly the kinds of interactions that you're already used to doing. So here's your first step. And I'm not going to promise it's not scary. It might be a little bit scary, but that's fine. We can do scary. We can do hard things, right? We can put ourselves out there. It is not going to violate your values or your principles, but it might be a little scary, and that's okay. You can do it. Here's your homework. Write an email and send it to 10 people you already know. Former colleagues, former professors, people you did your PhD with, people in your current department or in other departments in your college or university. Maybe you have friends who are also in academia. Maybe you're in academic Facebook groups or Discords or whatever, Reddit, whatever, wherever you lurk online. If there's anyone that you already have some kind of connection to, doesn't have to be a best friend. It can be just somebody that you know that you haven't touched base with in a while. Make a list of 10 of those people. And when you email them, check in, ask how they're doing. Let them know that you are becoming an editor, that you're becoming a coach. Let them know the specific people you want to support. Dissertation students who have ADHD, junior faculty who they were first gen college students and they're trying to navigate the tenure track. Or humanities scholars who are trying to publish a non-traditional book, right? A book that maybe tries to push the boundaries. Whoever it is, whoever you're passionate about helping, tell those people in that email, this is what I do. Do you need support with this, or do you know anyone else who needs support with it? And that's it. You're not asking them to hire you on the spot. You're not cold pitching them some offer. You're just connecting with another human being. You're opening a door and seeing if someone else walks through it. This is what we call warm outreach. It's a way of starting conversations, and it is the opposite of the used car lot. I will tell you from personal experience and from watching people in my BAE program, this is exactly how the first private clients come in. They land their first private clients from an email or a LinkedIn post or message to someone they already know. If you want to hear more about how this process works for coaching, go to episode 77 of my podcast. So that's your homework. Write the email, choose 10 people, send those emails this week. Now, here's what I want you to take away from today. You get to decide what your marketing looks like. You don't have to become someone you're not. You don't have to do anything that violates your values or makes you feel like that sweaty old car lot is your new office. The goal is very simple. Let the right people find you. And the right people, the clients who are a genuinely good fit for what you do and who you help, they're not going to feel sold to because you're not going to sell them. You're going to connect with them. And that, like I said, is something you already know how to do. If you're interested in getting started with editing or coaching and you want to learn more about how to build your freelance business, you can get all the details on my program at acadiaediting.com/become an editor. And again, this program is for people who want to go into editing or coaching or both. If you've already been doing freelance editing and you're ready to start landing higher paying private clients, get my free website homepage blueprint at acadiaediting.com/blueprint. That is the exact homepage structure that helped me earn my first 10K months. Yes, it is possible. Yes, there are editors who make 10K a month consistently. I promise you, you just have to know how to put yourself in front of the right people and how to connect with them. Thanks for listening. I'll see you next week.
If you're unhappy in academia and you think you might be a good editor or writing coach, check out my course, Becoming an Academic Editor. This digital course is paired with a 12-week group coaching program to support you through your decision to leave academia or not, and to start building a profitable and rewarding academic editing business. Learn more by going to acadiaediting.com/become an editor. Thanks again for listening. I'll see you next time.